Chapter 1. The Hidden Battle Inside You. You wake up and already the noise begins. Messages, deadlines, screens glowing in the dark before sunrise. Your mind runs before your body even moves. You tell yourself you are busy, you are working hard, but deep down you know most of your effort is scattered. You start 10 things and finish none. You scroll for stimulation, not truth. You want mastery, but your attention has been stolen by the endless hum of the modern world. You live in a storm of motion yet feel no progress. This is the quiet suffering of the unfocused mind. Centuries ago, a man named Miyamoto Musashi faced the same battle lonely. His enemies carried swords instead of screens. He learned that a warrior does not lose because his blade is dull. He loses because his mind is divided. The sword simply follows thought when the mind wavers. The blade falters when the mind is still. The world bends to its rhythm. Musashi discovered that strength begins not in muscle or weapon, but in the ability to command one's own awareness. Most men never understand this. They chase outer victories and die enslaved by inner confusion. The secret that made Musashi undefeated was not a hidden technique or trick of combat. It was the realization that the mind itself can be forged like steel. Once tempered, it becomes unbreakable calm in chaos. Sharp in silence, that same power is available to you. The question is not whether you are capable. It is whether you are willing to silence the noise long enough to train the mind that commands everything else. Chapter 2. The Invitation. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, restless, or disappointed in your own lack of focus, stay with me. The lesson you are about to hear is not entertainment. It is a path. It has existed for centuries, tested in battle and solitude, and it can reshape the way you think, act, and live. Musashi's way is not about violence. It is about precision, awareness, and peace in motion. So before we continue, take a breath. Let the noise of the day fade for a moment. If you want to build the kind of calm that cannot be shaken, listen until the end. And if these words speak to you, subscribe and walk this path with us. This channel is not for quick motivation. It is for those who wish to train the mind, not feed the ego. Every video is a step deeper into the art of focus, the discipline of thought, and the courage to face yourself. If you stay, if you apply what you hear, your life will not remain the same. The battle will still exist, but you will finally know how to win it. Chapter 3. The Silent Path of the Warrior. Long before cities glowed with light, Japan was a land of steel, silence, and endless movement. In that age lived a boy named Taro, a restless apprentice who dreamed of becoming a great swordsman. He had heard stories of Musashi, the wandering warrior who defeated every challenger and never fought for glory, only mastery. They said he moved like wind through fog, that his eyes saw before his body acted. To Taro, such power seemed like magic. He set out across mountains and rivers to find the master. Days turned to weeks, and hunger followed him like a shadow. When at last he reached a small village surrounded by bamboo forests, he found Musashi not in a grand dojo but sitting beside a quiet stream. Carving wood, there was no armor, no audience, no display of greatness, only stillness. The simplicity of it confused the boy. How could the most feared warrior in Japan live like a monk? Taro bowed deeply. "Master Musashi," he said, "teach me how to defeat my enemies." Musashi looked up, his eyes calm and unreadable. "Defeat your enemies?" He repeated, "You have not yet defeated yourself." Taro frowned, unsure if it was a lesson or an insult. Musashi motioned for him to sit. "Before you draw your sword, you must learn to draw your mind," he said. "The sword only cuts where the mind directs. If the mind trembles, the blade hesitates, and hesitation is death." Thus began the training, not with combat, but with silence. Musashi gave the boy no weapon, only tasks that seemed meaningless. Carrying water, stacking stones, sweeping fallen leaves. Taro obeyed for a few days but grew impatient. "How will this make me strong?" he asked. Musashi replied, "Strength is not gained through motion alone. The man who cannot be still will never move with power." Chapter 4. The eager mind. Taro was young, hungry, and proud. He measured progress by movement, not depth. Every morning he rose before dawn to watch other students train at nearby schools. They practiced swift strikes, loud kai shouts, and complex stances. Their energy excited him. He felt trapped doing menial chores while others wielded swords. At night, he secretly imitated their techniques. switching from one style to another, never satisfied. Each failure only made him angrier. Musashi observed quietly, never interfering. One afternoon he said, "You study the waves and ignore the tide." Taro did not understand, Musashi continued. "A man who chases many forms masters none. You look outward, not inward, your sword hand changes, but your mind remains the same." Taro clenched his fists. "Then teach me the true way," he said. Musashi only smiled. "You are not yet ready to learn. You still believe knowledge is power. But understanding without stillness is chaos." As days passed, Taro's frustration deepened. He wanted results, not riddles. He wanted to feel progress, not endure monotony. His pride whispered that he was wasting time. Yet something in Musashi's silence kept him there. Beneath the irritation, he felt a strange pull and intuition that this quiet old man saw something in him that he could not yet see in himself. Chapter 5. The Defeat of Noise. One morning Musashi called him to the clearing by the river. "Today," he said, "you will fight." Taro's heart leapt. At last, a real lesson. He seized the practiced sword, feeling a rush of excitement. Musashi picked up a branch from the ground. No stance, no ceremony, he simply stood there, still as stone. Taro attacked first, his strikes fierce and fast. Musashi did not move until the final instant, then deflected with effortless precision. Again and again Taro rushed forward, and each time he was stopped, redirected, or sent tumbling into the dirt. The old man's movements were minimal, almost invisible. Within moments, Taro's energy was gone, his breath ragged, his pride shattered. He dropped to one knee, humiliated. Musashi lowered his branch. "You move before you see," he said. "You think before you understand. This is why you lose." Taro bowed his head, tears burning his eyes. "Then teach me how to see." Musashi placed a hand on his shoulder. "First, you must learn how to be empty." From that day forward, the real training began. Musashi explained that the sword follows the mind, and the mind follows attention. To master attention is to master all things, he promised to teach. Taro, three ancient concepts that govern the warrior's inner world, the same ideas that had guided him through every duel and every moment of solitude. "These are not tricks," he said. "They are states of being. Understand them, and your mind will no longer be your master, it will be your servant." Chapter 6. The first concept, the empty mind. They sat together by the riverbank as the sun sank below the horizon. "When the mind is full," Musashi said, "it cannot see clearly. Thoughts collide like waves in a storm, and the reflection of truth disappears. You must become like still water, empty, yet capable of reflecting the moon." At first, Taro misunderstood. He thought emptiness meant not thinking at all, so he tried to push thoughts away, to suppress them. This only made his mind louder. Musashi watched him struggle and shook his head. "To empty the mind is not to fight thought," he said. "It is to let thoughts come and go without holding them. When the water does not resist, it remains calm." For weeks, Taro practiced. He would sit in silence, focusing on his breath, noticing how quickly his mind drifted to pride, to fear, to memories. Slowly, the noise began to settle. One morning, as he swept the path outside their hut, a leaf fell before him. Without thinking, he caught it with the broom before it touched the ground. Musashi, watching from a distance, smiled. "That," he said, "is mushin." The act without hesitation, the motion without interference. In the centuries since, neuroscientists have described this same state as flow, the moment when the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that overthinks, temporarily quiets. A researcher at Kyoto University once said that in this state, action and awareness merge into one. Musashi had discovered it long before science gave it a name. He turned to Taro and said, "When the mind is empty, the world moves through you. When it is cluttered, you stumble through the world. Learn to be empty, and you will never hesitate again." Chapter 7. The second concept. The everyday mind. The days that followed were slow, repetitive, and silent. Taro had grown more patient since learning the emptiness of thought. But his mood still rose and fell like the tide. Some mornings he trained with precision and focus. Other days he grew restless and doubted himself. He would feel strong one moment and worthless the next. Musashi saw this instability clearly, though he said nothing for a while. One afternoon, as Taro trained by striking a wooden post in rhythm with his breath, the master finally spoke. "Do you think mastery is a single moment?" he asked. "It is not. It is 1,000 days lived with the same mind. Taro stopped striking and turned toward him. Musashi continued, "The second concept is Hejishin, the everyday mind. It means to hold steady in all seasons. Do not let victory make you proud, or failure make you despair. A warrior must be calm in chaos, humble in success, and composed in defeat. This is not indifference. It is balance." Taro bowed his head. "But master, how can one feel nothing when the world changes constantly?" Musashi smiled faintly. "You cannot stop the wind from blowing, but you can stop yourself from chasing every leaf it moves." He told Taro to fetch water from the river each morning and pour it into a single bamboo cup. Every day, Taro filled it to the same level. Some days the river ran clear. Other days it was muddy from rain, but Musashi made him drink from it all the same. "The water changes," he said, "but the cup remains. Your mind must be like the cup still, regardless of what it holds." At first, Taro found it impossible. When he lost balance during training, anger erupted. When he succeeded, pride whispered in his ear. But slowly he began to recognize the space between emotion and action. He learned that awareness was not the absence of feeling, but the ability to hold feeling without being ruled by it. The more he practiced, the more his inner storms began to pass quickly. One night, as rain poured over the roof of their hut, Musashi spoke through the sound. "Taro, when I fought my first duel, I was filled with rage and fear. My sword was heavy because my heart was heavy. Then I learned that emotion is like rain, it must fall, but it does not have to drown you. The everyday mind is like the mountain, the rain touches it, but the mountain remains unmoved." Modern science now describes this as emotional regulation, the ability to maintain clarity under stress. Psychologists studying elite athletes and monks alike have found that the key to high performance is not raw intensity but consistent composure. Musashi understood this truth centuries ago. To live with Hejishin is to be free from the tyranny of mood. By the end of the month, Taro's movements were steady. His breath flowed evenly whether he trained in sunlight or in storm. When he sparred, he no longer rushed or hesitated. He acted with a kind of quiet inevitability. One morning, as he placed the bamboo cup beside Musashi, the master said, "Now your sword does not tremble when the world shakes. You are beginning to live with the everyday mind." Chapter 8, the third concept, the immovable spirit. But there was still one more storm within him. Although his body had become disciplined and his thoughts calmer, fear still lingered in the dark corners of his mind. When he imagined true battle life or death, his chest tightened. The memory of failure, the fear of pain, the desire to survive all weighed upon him like invisible armor. Musashi sensed this fear. One evening, he led Taro to a narrow cliff that overlooked a deep ravine. The wind howled between the rocks, and the drop was enough to make the strongest man's knees weaken. Musashi stood at the edge and motioned for Taro to join him. "What do you feel?" he asked. "Fear," Taro admitted. "If I fall, I die." "Good," Musashi said. "Now step closer." Taro hesitated. "Master, the wind?" "The wind is nothing," Musashi interrupted. "Only your thoughts make it strong." "Step closer." With trembling legs, Taro obeyed. He felt the wind pulling at his clothes, the earth shifting slightly beneath his sandals. His heart pounded so loudly it drowned the sound of the river below. Musashi placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is Fudashin, the immovable spirit. The man who fears death cannot live freely. The man who fears failure cannot act with clarity. You must be like the mountain, silent, unshaken, unyielding." Taro's breathing slowed. He stared into the ravine until the fear changed shape. It was no longer a monster chasing him, but a shadow he could observe in that moment. He understood that fear is not the enemy, it is the test of presence. Musashi spoke softly. "Every warrior faces this cliff. Some run, some freeze. A few step forward and see that the abyss is illusion. The more you face fear, the less it rules you." Over the following weeks, Musashi trained him relentlessly. He would appear behind him without warning, strike suddenly, or make Taro practice blindfolded. At first, these drills filled him with panic, but gradually his mind began to separate fear from action. His reactions became clean, unburdened by emotion. Neuroscientists at Tokyo University later described this process as exposure and integration. When the brain repeatedly faces fear in controlled settings, the amygdala, the emotional center, learns that not every threat means death. The warrior's brain evolves. What was once terror becomes awareness. Musashi had learned this truth through battle, but its essence applies to modern life as well. The only way to conquer fear is to walk into it, not away from it. One evening, after an especially grueling day, Taro sat exhausted by the river. Musashi joined him, gazing at the fading light. "Tell me," he said, "what have you learned about fear?" Taro thought for a long time. "That fear is part of me, but it does not have to lead me." Musashi nodded. "Good. The sword you hold in your hand is useless if the sword inside your heart is dull. Fear sharpens it when your spirit becomes immovable. No storm can reach you." The lesson of Fudoshin was not about invincibility, it was about serenity under threat. To act with courage does not mean to feel no fear. It means to act despite it, guided by something larger than emotion. For the first time, Taro understood that Musashi's true art was not swordsmanship at all. It was the mastery of the inner landscape. Chapter 9, The Mirror of Water. The next morning was calm and bright. The rain had cleared, and the surface of the river was smooth as glass. Musashi asked Taro to stand at its edge with his sword drawn. "Strike," he said simply. Taro obeyed. Performing the same technique he had practiced thousands of times before, his movements were neither tense nor lazy. Each motion was clean, deliberate, and alive. When he finished, he looked down at the water and saw his reflection. For the first time, his eyes looked back at him without doubt. Musashi approached and studied him quietly. "Now," he said, "you no longer swing the sword. The sword moves through you. This is the harmony of the three minds: emptiness, balance, and stillness. When these exist together, you have no enemy left to fight." Taro sheathed his blade and knelt before him. "Master," he said, "what should I do now?" Musashi smiled, his gaze drifting toward the mountains. "Live. Every act is training, every breath is practice. The warrior's way does not end when he puts down the sword. It continues in how he speaks, works, and walks through the world." At that moment, the silence between them felt like music. Taro finally understood what all the chores, defeats, and riddles had meant. The true art was not in the motion of the blade, but in the motionless heart behind it. He bowed deeply, realizing that he had not simply learned to fight, he had learned to see. Modern thinkers might describe this as integration, the point where body, mind, and spirit align. Neuroscientists would call it coherence, the synchronization of attention and emotion. But Musashi would have called it something simpler. Clarity. When you no longer resist life, life itself begins to flow through you. As they walked back toward their hut, Musashi said quietly, "Most men spend their lives trying to master others. The wise man masters himself. Once you have done that, everything else becomes effortless." Chapter 10, The Modern Reflection. You too live in a battlefield, though it no longer smells of blood or steel. Your opponents are distraction, anxiety, insecurity, and endless desire. The principles that shape Taro's mind still apply to yours. The empty mind teaches you to act without hesitation. The everyday mind teaches you to hold your ground in emotion. The immovable spirit teaches you to stand unshaken when fear rises. When you apply these to modern life, your work becomes sharper, you speak more clearly, you handle pressure without losing yourself, your mind stops racing, and your actions become direct, calm, and effective. These are not just ancient warrior secrets, they are universal human truths. Musashi once said, "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye." In today's world, that means perceiving the unseen forces that shape your life, your habits, your thoughts, your patterns of emotion. Once you see them, you can shape them, and once you shape them, you become free. Chapter 11. The science of stillness. Modern science has only begun to uncover what Musashi lived. At Kyoto University, researchers studying mindfulness and flow discovered that when the mind becomes quiet and unified with action, the brain's frontal regions temporarily deactivate. This state, known as transcended hypofrontality, reduces self-doubt and allows the body to perform at its peak. The warrior's stillness is not mystical, it is neurological. Another study from Harvard found that consistent meditation thickens the prefrontal cortex and strengthens neural pathways, responsible for emotional regulation and focus. The ancient practice of clearing the mind rewires the brain for calm resilience. What Musashi called mush and emptiness, without thought, is the same state elite athletes and soldiers now train to enter on command. Even the modern concept of emotional intelligence echoes Musashi's Heijushin, the everyday mind. Scientists have proven that the ability to remain composed under stress correlates more strongly with success than raw intelligence or talent. The man who can maintain equilibrium when everything collapses does not need to be the fastest or the strongest, he only needs to be present. Musashi's third concept, Fugyoshin, the immovable spirit, has parallels in modern psychology's idea of cognitive reframing. By changing the relationship between thought and fear, the brain learns to interpret challenge as opportunity rather than threat. What Musashi practiced on the battlefield is what soldiers, performers, and leaders now practice in boardrooms and classrooms. The ancient warrior's secrets are now validated by data, but their essence remains spiritual. To control your mind is to control your destiny. Chapter 12, the Musashi Framework. 3 steps to reclaim the mind. Musashi's teaching can be distilled into 3 practical steps. They are simple, but their power lies in consistency. Apply them daily, and the architecture of your mind will begin to change. Step 1. Empty. Begin each morning with stillness, no phone, no noise, no input. Sit for 5 minutes and breathe. Notice the storm of thoughts rising and falling. Do not fight them. Do not follow them, simply observe. This is your first strike, the cut against distraction. As your awareness expands, your reactions slow. You begin to act, not react. In time, you'll find that most problems dissolve before you even respond to them. Step 2. Observe throughout the day. Watch yourself as if you were another person. Notice when pride appears, when irritation sparks, when anxiety whispers. Observe these moments without judgment. The warrior trains in awareness more than in motion. Musashi said, to know 10,000 things. Know one well, that one thing is yourself. Observation leads to mastery because it reveals truth without distortion. Step 3. Act. Take one deliberate action each day without hesitation or comparison. Do the thing you've been postponing. Speak the truth you've been avoiding. Practice the skill you've been delaying. The point is not perfection but precision. Musashi believed that clarity in small actions becomes clarity in life. When the mind, body, and spirit move as one, even the smallest motion carries power. Do this daily, and you will reshape your nervous system, your habits, and your identity. Discipline will no longer be a battle, it will be your nature. The 3 Musashi concepts will cease to be philosophy and become instinct. Chapter 13. The Mirror of the Modern Samurai. Now, let us confront the truth you avoid. You say you want mastery, but what you want is comfort disguised as growth. You jump from one pursuit to another, hoping to find excitement instead of discipline. You consume books, videos, and advice, but your mind remains noisy because you never sit long enough in silence to hear yourself. You want the results of devotion without the repetition that devotion demands. The modern world rewards distraction. It tells you that boredom means failure, that speed means success, that restlessness means ambition, but Musashi would call this sickness. He said, the truth is not what you wish it to be. It is what it is, and you must bend to its power or live a lie. You scroll for meaning when meaning is earned only through practice. You chase novelty because you fear depth. You claim you are searching for purpose, but you are running from the mirror. Let this be the moment you stop lying to yourself. The warrior's path is not glamorous. It is repetitive, quiet, and unseen. But it is the only path that leads to freedom. Every strike you repeat, every moment you endure, every breath you take in stillness builds the invisible fortress of your spirit. The more you train, the less you need motivation. Motivation is for beginners. Rhythm is for masters. A neuroscientist once said that identity is built from action, not thought. You are not what you intend. You are what you do repeatedly. Musashi understood this long before science caught up. The disciplined man and the distracted man live in the same world, but one builds peace from it, and the other drowns in it. Chapter 14, the Final Duel. Months passed, and Taro's training neared its end. One morning, Musashi challenged him once more to a duel. The air was cool and the forest silent. This time Taro did not rush. He breathed deeply and let his awareness settle into stillness. The 2 men faced each other, and in that silence something changed. The duel was no longer between master and student. It was between 2 mirrors reflecting the same calmness. Taro struck once, then twice, each movement clean and measured. Musashi parried effortlessly, his expression serene. For a brief moment, time seemed to dissolve. Their actions were not two but one continuous flow. Finally, Musashi stepped back, lowered his sword, and smiled. "Enough," he said. "You have learned." Taro bowed deeply, realizing the victory was not his over Musashi, but his over the noise that once ruled him. The master's voice was soft but resolute. "The enemy no longer exists," he said. "You have learned to fight without conflict when a man masters his mind. The world itself becomes his ally. Every task, every challenge, every pain transforms into training. The wind no longer opposes him, it moves with him. The warrior's calm is not an escape from life. It is participation in it without distortion." Taro had entered this training seeking domination. He left it having discovered peace. Chapter 15, the path continues. Now imagine your own life reflected in Taro's journey. The same storms rage within you, the same pride, fear, and noise, but the same strength that tamed his chaos exists in you too. The principles Musashi taught were not for warriors alone. They were for any human who wishes to live deliberately. Whether you wield a sword or a pen, work in silence or speak to crowds, the same mind governs every action. If you practice emptiness, balance, and stillness, your world will begin to reorder itself. You will make decisions with clarity. You will speak less but mean more. You will find that stress, once overwhelming, becomes manageable. The mind, once a cage, becomes a weapon. You will see that mastery is not a distant summit but a path walked step by step, moment by moment. So begin now. Before you close this video, make a quiet promise to yourself. For 1 week, train as Musashi taught. Each morning, 5 minutes of silence. Each day, one deliberate action without hesitation. Each night, one reflection. Where was I weak today? That is how warriors are made, not by declarations, but by repetition. Chapter 16, the closing invitation. If these words have stirred something within you, it is because that strength was never lost. It was only buried under noise. Musashi's way is not ancient, it is eternal. The tools have changed. The battlefield is different, but the struggle is the same, to bring order to chaos. To see clearly when the world blinds you, to act with calm when fear rises. Subscribe if you wish to walk this path with us, not to follow, but to remember, each video we share is another strike of the whetstone, another layer of discipline on the blade of your mind. The warrior's journey is not about fighting others. It is about becoming unshakable within yourself. If you apply these teachings, your life will begin to feel lighter, yet stronger. Your energy will no longer scatter. It will move with purpose. You will stop chasing and start building. You will stop reacting and start leading. And one day, you will realize the same thing Taro did, that the real battle was never out there. It was always inside. The sword has changed. The armor has changed, but the warrior remains the same. Walk the path, sharpen your mind, and remember stillness is the highest form of strength.